All right, picking up on 33. Let's see here. Going to start by squaring both sides. I get -1 minus 2b is equal to b squared. Now it's starting to look like a quadratic. I have b squared plus 2b plus 1. This is going to give me x plus 1 times x plus 1 if I factor this. But either one gives me the same thing, x equals -1. Now, we're running into this problem again where I do not want, like if I plug this back in, -1 minus 2 times -1, I do not want a negative constant on the opposite side of a square root that's been simplified. Okay? Okay? So this one has no real solutions. Okay, let's check this last one here. I'm going to square both sides. I get 3p plus 19 is equal to p minus 3 squared. Okay, this is going to be p squared minus 6p plus 9. Set this equal to 0. I have p squared minus 9p minus 10. If I see, can I factor this one? I get a minus 10 and plus 1. So my possible options are 10 and -1. Let's see here. We want to go back and check to see if these solutions work. Okay. However, when you go back, you'll check to see that x equals 10 does work, but when we plug in -1, we're going to get a negative constant on the other side, so this will not work. Okay. Let's go through 35 through 38. Maybe pick a different color. Okay, find the inverse. The steps for finding the inverse are, first, if it's written as a function notation, switch this to a y. Okay. Next, I want to swap my x's and swap my y's. So the y becomes an x. Any of my x's become y's now. And then I'm going to solve for y. So I would probably add 1 to both sides. Okay, let me flip this and divide each by 3. Alright, and then lastly, represent the inverse function of a. I'm going to write that a superscript -1, which looks like an a to the -1 power. And write 1/3 x plus 1/3. Okay, 36. Switch it to a y, have the cube root of x minus 3. Swap the x's and the y's. Alright, solve for y. I got x plus 3 is equal to the cube root of y. Now I need to cube both sides. So I have x plus 3 cubed is equal to y. And that's fine enough. If you'd like to expand that out, you can. I'll have the key up where it's expanded out. However, let me switch this back. We were working with b inverse, so this is going to be x plus 3 cubed. Alright, let's check out 37. Let's see. Go y is equal to 1 half x plus 2. Switch the x's and y's. Okay, now I'm solving for y, so I have x minus 2 is equal to 1 half y. And then I get 2x minus 4 is equal to y after I multiply both sides by 2. So let me write that as C inverse. Alright, D. Now I know I'm going really fast just because I'm trying to get this up quickly for you guys, and I have out of town family visiting, so I'm trying to get there. But if you do have questions, feel free to message me or see me in person when you can. Okay. D of x. So switch that. switch the x's and y's. Okay, and then I need to divide both sides by 3, and I'm going to also move the y to the left side. X over 3. Square root both sides. I have y is equal to plus or negative of square root of x over 3. And then I'll write that as d inverse x over x plus 3. Don't worry about rationalizing the denominator. If you'd really like to, you may. Okay? Now, how do I tell the following are functions? If yes, will the inverse also be a function? Well, if a graph is a function, it passes the vertical line test. Okay, so I can tell this one passes the vertical line test. So does this one. However, this one over here does not. So let's say yes, yes, no. This one passes, passes, fails the vertical line test. Okay, so I don't have to worry about this one down here. But let's check to see if it passes the inverse is also a function. The way to check that without having to find the inverse and then graphing is to use the horizontal line test. So I'll go here, and then if I fail that at any point, then it fails. This one fails. Horizontal line test. No. No. Okay. This one is yes, because it passes the horizontal line test. Okay, and I could check real quick. Everywhere is good. Okay, I don't have to worry about the other one. 42, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, let me pick one of these, maybe two of them. What you need to do is solve for a variable, or I might recommend solving for a variable and then plugging in the value to figure out the unknown. Okay, so if I was to do, for example, 42, I've got t is equal to 2 pi times the square root of L over 32. Okay, I'm trying to solve for L here. So first thing I need to do is divide both sides by 2 pi. Then I will square both sides. So I get t squared over 4 pi squared is equal to L over 32. Next thing I will do is multiply both sides by 32. So then I get 32 t squared over 4 pi squared is equal to L, and then I can reduce that to 8t squared over pi squared equals L. Well, that's not actually my answer, okay, but it is nice because I won't have to solve with all these additional numbers. All right, let me plug in what t would be. So in this case, it is 9. So 8 times 81 over pi squared. This is approximately 65.66, and we're measuring length in feet. Okay, let's check out another one. Okay, now I'm going to choose to do number 44, even though it is a square root again, because there's an extra little step we have to do that we might not notice. Okay, so I know V and I will know R. Okay, so right here I know V. We are trying to solve for the height. Okay, so let's get height by itself, starting with R is equal to the square root of V over pi h. Okay, so first thing I need to do is square both sides. R squared is equal to V over pi h. Then I want to either multiply by the reciprocal, which would be pi over V. We could do that. Let's actually multiply both sides by pi. Okay, so if I multiply both sides by pi, I get pi r squared is equal to v over h. Okay, now I am solving for h and I don't want it in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply both sides by h. So we get h pi r squared is equal to v, and my last step to get h by itself is to divide both sides by pi r squared. Oops. V over pi r squared. Okay, let's see here. Now, I know v, I know r, I'm just going to plug those values in to solve for h. So I know v is 75, I know r is 4, square that, and I will get approximately 1.49 centimeters. Okay? Now I will not do 43 or 45 here, but I do have a key that I will upload to Canvas along with these videos. So if you have questions, please feel free to call, or not call me, but message me on Remind, or if you must, text me on my work phone. Okay? Thanks, good luck studying, and good luck on the test.